So Rick, let's talk about planning a Super Bowl campaign. What does that mean?
Well, Jen, so planning a Super Bowl campaign, it's like planning any campaign, really. So when you think about the campaign, only usually Super Bowl is bigger, requires a little more.
Oh, I imagine. There's lots of people. There's probably a lot of spreadsheets.
There's tons of spreadsheets, there's tons of meetings, there's tons of everything, because what they're doing is, you know what content calendar is, you do it for people.
Yeah.
So why don't you explain what a content calendar is, simply,
okay.
and then I'll go into the planning part.
So if you're running a sizable social media operation, or any kind of web publication, or any kind of print publication, you have a content calendar. So you need to know what's going to be published when. That's really what it comes down to. So for example, if you take a newsstand magazine, every newsstand magazine that comes out monthly has a theme. You know, I like to use things like cooking magazines, because everybody, you know, that's very common. Like if currently it's January, okay, well we're in Mexico, so it's warm, so it's not the same here. But in the US, the magazines are typically all talking about like winter stews and things like that, right? Or detoxing after the holidays. Like those are their kind of yearly themes. Well, every business has the same kind of a thing. You might be talking about, you know, it depends on the business, of course, but like in the chiropractor space, you're going to be talking about, you might connect certain like back pain to things like snow shoveling this time of year. You're in the Northeast or the Midwest. It's, you know, so everybody kind of has certain themes that are coming out. Veterinarians have, you know, there's a huge long list of pet holidays, and like this is National Walk Your Dog Month, which I think is really funny because it's January and, you know, it's cold in a lot of the U.S. So it's also National Dog Training Month, because a lot of people get dogs, pets over the holidays, and they need to be trained. So this is the content calendars. It's like, okay, so what kind of content are we going to create around that?
That's relevant to
the business.
Right. So when you're doing the Super Bowl ads, there's the planning, the agency's planning, because some ads have bigger campaigns than others. You might have in-store promotions, you might have endcap promotions, you might have billboards, you might do full-page ads in the newspaper, you might have ads coming out in magazines that have had to be bought months in advance, and you know, so there's that planning. It is a spreadsheet, and it's the planning for the whole campaign and what content do we need, what pieces of content. I mean, you mentioned the social media, but the bigger brands
it goes much beyond
are doing way beyond just social media, but they also are doing social media.
Of course.
So they're thinking about these things, and the stuff that you do, like nowadays, for instance, Instagram likes square or vertical pictures. Facebook likes square, vertical, or horizontal. Right? So there's three different things. Well, there's three different reasons why you would do each one. You know, the vertical takes up more real estate, the square takes up a bigger footprint overall, and the horizontal is more like TV. So the planning is, who's the viewer, how are they watching it, where are they going to see it, what are they going to be taking from it, how much time do they really going to spend. Someone with their thumb doing this is less likely to pay attention to it than if it's on a TV screen. And that's where Super Bowl ads really come in, because they know that somewhere between 80 to 100, 110 million people are going to be watching their spot for that 30 seconds, because people are watching them.
Right.
And they're watching them to watch them. They're not.
Yes.
So a big campaign goes into all these other elements of what it takes to really be cohesive in the marketing of that.
Yeah, it's all about, you know, planning ahead, prepping, and the cohesiveness of it all.
Right.
Because if you're in marketing, then you want everything to go together. Whether it's billboards, whether it's your web copy, your email sequences, it all needs to be together.
I mean, as a CMO or brand manager, you're responsible for this bigger picture and executing on that.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things that we try to do when we're doing videos is, in a smaller scale, but what's the strategy behind this? Where are you going with this? What are you purposing? How are you doing this? You know, when you shoot a video like this is in a horizontal format. This is not going to work in a square format because we're just too big. If it was one of us, we could be in the center and cut it out to be in square format or vertical format, depending on where it's going to go. So thinking all that in advance.
I'm so glad you know that sort of thing.
But thinking that out in advance is part of the planning for all of this. I mean, good campaigns are well thought out.
Right.
They
And
don't just
that's-
happen.
Yes, of course. Like all good marketing, it's thought about ahead of time.
Right.
You know, and I mean, anyone who's been in marketing for any length of time knows that you're planning it out, you know, weeks and months ahead of time, not like, oh, we need to get this out next week. That is not the ideal situation.
No, and one of the things that we do here is, you know, we're marketers who use a camera or words. We do separate things, but we're marketers who use those tools. We're not a videographer who's trying to get just the most beautiful shot. Because while that's important, hire someone to do that. I try not to shoot anything if I don't have to, because I'm better getting the right message, making sure that we've got the strategy right, making sure we've got the shots, ticking them off the list of the exact things that we need for the client so that they can have a better chance to get a better ROI.
Right, because you're more of that director and that strategist behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And before, like, instead of holding the camera.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend anybody, if you're going to hire somebody to do that before you start shooting, and then let them hire the cameraman to come in and be responsible for the f-stops and the focus and all that stuff. Because today we had problems with sound, you know, getting the sound right. System setup we use all the time. That was a problem.
Right.
Somebody needs to be responsible for that. So when you're doing the bigger shoots, when you're doing business shoots, when you're doing stuff for your company, you really need to pay attention to those kind of things. So campaigns are important. Hiring the right people for your campaigns are important. Getting the right content for your campaigns is important, and that's the strategy.
Right, and it all comes down to the basics.
Right. So Super Bowls are really they're just bigger because there's the billboards that go up. There's everything that's timed, and it's timed for the day of, and then the time after to capitalize on the day of.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yep. So that's what we know. And that's about it.
All right.